Listen, guys, I know I've been riding a lot on the Switch 2 lately and, been pushing it here in a lot of my videos, but that's because I have a lot of belief in this console. Alright, and listen, at the end of the day, the only thing I want to say to you guys, especially a lot of you who have been long-time viewers, we've went down this road before with Xbox. Alright, and despite some of the things that are going on with Microsoft and Xbox right now, I called it with the MMO thing. Remember how hype y'all were when we got the Phantasy Star Online 2 North America announcement strictly for Xbox? Or how about Black Desert Console when it was strictly on Xbox before the PlayStation versions came? Yeah. I'm just saying, guys, I know every single one of these game companies, they got their ups and downs. I know the negatives. But at the same time, all I'm saying to y'all is have some faith in your boy and let me cook. Gamers and gamettes, what is going on? My name is Tanek127 and welcome back to another video. And guys, in today's video, I want to talk to y'all about Xenoblade Chronicles X. Or matter of fact, just the whole Xenoblade Chronicles games as a whole. However, if you want to stay updated on all things Xenoblade or Nintendo Switch and Nintendo Switch 2, make sure you are liking today's video, subscribing to the channel if you are new, and let's go ahead and get right on into today's topic. So, I made a purchase over the weekend, guys, alright? And being as though I've played Xenoblade Chronicles 1, 2, and 3, I haven't finished them all yet, but X was always an interesting one to me, and I just wanted to grab that and play around with it and test the waters of the game just a little bit, because it just seemed like a different concept than the other three. But let me tell y'all a bit about this game and why I think it will appeal to a lot of you guys. And why I say, maybe diving into the Nintendo universe won't be so bad. If you're someone who's been strictly PlayStation or Xbox for a long time. Or, especially guys who just like playing on PC. Having a Switch as a side console, there's a lot of PC players that do that. So that's one thing I think you should definitely consider if you're someone who plays PC only. But anyway, what if I were to tell you that there was an RPG out there, right? That played just like a tab target MMO. Not an action combat MMO, but tab target. Something like World of Warcraft or Final Fantasy XIV. Not quite Wizard 101 because that's more turn-based, but more like, the old school MMOs that had the tab target feel. What if tanking, healing, staying on top of your gear, all that stuff was vital and important in the roles of the game. Every single boss, even the early game ones, have strong and interesting mechanics. Little mobs and stuff like that. There's all kinds, AoEs you gotta dodge. Now, I know a lot of this stuff is a lot more regular now in a lot of our action games today, but it used to be, rare features. Action games were more so, just beat 'em up before, Dark Souls came along and it became a cool thing to make games more difficult, which I don't mind because I'm glad. I'm not trying to bash that in any way. I'm just saying. I'm sure you guys remember the time period, where beat 'em ups were simple, and anything with good combat, it was really usually easy to play because button mash away, you're getting through mostly everything because they didn't have any crazy mechanics or difficulty. But I'm saying though, what if you could have that classic MMO feel in a game and it still have a solid story? It still have a great music, but you don't have to deal with things like, playing online or, dealing with a subscription or anything, just insane like that. Any of the nuance that comes with MMOs, worrying about the game being shut down even, because at the end of the day, it's a single player game. Now, Xenoblade Chronicles X does have multiplayer features, which I think is a really cool part. Unfortunately, I'm not at that point in the game yet, so we're not even going to talk about that. But like I was saying, guys, this is Xenoblade Chronicles X, what you guys are seeing gameplay of here in the background. And these are like Nintendo's flagship RPG. They're developed by Monolith Soft, which is a studio under Nintendo. And, they're really good games. They've all been, highly regarded, highly reviewed. They just started, porting some of them over to the Switch just a few years back. They even made the most recent ones built for, specifically for Switch. I believe the first Xenoblade Chronicles was a Wii or Wii U game. Then I believe the second one was a Switch game. And the third one was a Switch game. And then Xenoblade Chronicles X, I believe that was a Wii U game ported over to Switch. I don't remember the exact order and how they all came out, but during the Switch 1 generation, they started making them for a Switch. And these games have been doing phenomenally well. And one thing that's very different about these games is they have the combat system and battle system of an MMO. As you guys can see here, when you look at my HUD and battle HUD and stuff like that, you can see it's kind of cluttery, you know, the same way an MMO RPG is. Not saying that that's a good thing, but, you know, you just, it gives you that vibe. You know, with MMOs, you got a lot of things going on, a lot of information you need to see at one time. These games work the same way. You get that MMO experience, but in a single-player style game. There's an open world, there's world bosses, there's really mechanic-heavy boss fights. The music is wonderful. I actually fought the first boss here in Xenoblade Chronicles X, and it was literally, you know, one of those sequences where, you know, you're just fighting the boss, and then the vocals kick into the music, and I was like, oh, damn, you know, this is sounding really good. But the thing about these games is they are exclusive to Nintendo consoles, you know, the Nintendo Switch and Switch 2. But I do think these ones are, you know, worth it. And, you know, for those of you here on the channel who own a Switch or Switch 2, if you haven't already, I'm sure you know a lot. I know a lot of you guys like RPGs, so I'm certain that most of you who have Switches probably have. If not, you definitely need to check these games out. This is definitely one of the more unique RPGs I've ever played, because when I first tried one of the Xenoblade Chronicles games, the first one I ever played was actually Xenoblade Chronicles 2. And I was actually annoyed with the combat system because I was like, I just didn't get it. And I was like, yo, how the hell do I attack? And then I realized, you know, that there was an auto attack and everything like that. And I was looking at the combat system, how all the moves were on rotations, and, you know, how they got leveled up, how you had to work on your gear and everything. And I was like, oh, okay. I was like, this kind of plays like an MMO. And then after doing more research, learning about the games, looking into them and stuff like that, the combat is purposely built like that to give that more of like an MMO style of feel. And I think that's really cool. You have full control over your character, but everything's, you know, just tab target. You lock on, you have different moves that are on cooldown, you set up a nice rotation, you know, to do the most damage or buff your characters the best, or, you know, debuff the enemy best, you know, however you're building things out. And guys, these games are just a ton of fun. And I would definitely recommend for you guys to try them. But like I said, they are locked to the Nintendo ecosystem at the end of the day. Now, I'm not going to sit here in this video and say, you know, oh, go buy a Switch or a Switch 2, you know, just so you can play Xenoblade or anything like that. I'm just saying, if you are looking for a new console in the future, you're curious, and, you know, and you need some incentive to point you in the right direction, maybe Xenoblade Chronicles on Switch is a good thing, you know, you should take a look at. That's all I'm saying, you guys. Go watch some videos on YouTube. I'm not saying, you know, go and buy a Switch right now because Tanek said so. No. And this isn't no sponsored video or anything. I bought this with my own money, and I'm enjoying it. And I wanted to share it with you guys because I know y'all love MMOs. And I know a lot of you love RPGs. And I know a lot of you love single-player experiences. And this is a game that gives you all that in one package. And not to mention there's 4 of them, all playable on the same console. That's all I'm saying. But anyway, let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. And have you played Xenoblade Chronicles in the games? Let me know. Y'all enjoyed today's video? Smash that like. I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace out. Have a good one.